Neal Schore, you've been coaching executives at the very highest level. You've been coaching big organizations and almost like keeping it a secret from the world. And now it's time to pull the curtains out. And so you've got some significant tools inside your book, The 25th Hour, and your coaching practice, your consulting practice. I want to dive into that stuff today. I want to find out where the intersections are between your work and the work that we're passionate to do. I just think we're going to have a fantastic conversation. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and really nice to spend time with you. And thanks for that warm introduction.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that caught my attention in your book was we I think over-index on time management. And I mean, who could argue that it has benefit? But I think what you're saying is, yeah, it's not that you don't do that, but there is way, way more value to capture by looking at the swirl that can happen, that even if you have all the time in the world, you can only bring a fraction of your true self unless you address the swirl. So right off the bat, can we just go to swirl? In our world, you know, we have different language for that, but I want to hang on to your beautiful language of swirl. I think people can really relate to that. So talk to us about swirl and how it is that people can really be more effective, perform more highly, and be their best self if they can learn how to deal with swirl.
Yeah. So you were right in your opening that my work has been developed over 20 some years. And I have been one-to-one in a very proprietary way. And there has been no focus on bringing this toolbox to the world until I was effectively pushed by one of my very high visibility clients to write this book. And the interesting part of you starting with swirl and the way you introduced me is this particular person is the master swirler. So swirling, in my definition, is about this loop that we just continuously play in our head that is repeating what might have just happened or what we might have said or why we didn't say it. I wish I would have. And then we just beat ourselves up. It just follows us everywhere, sometimes for days or weeks. I've had cases where it's months where we just can't turn it off and we just beat ourselves up terribly.
Oh, yeah. And I'm hearing a historical, like I'm ruminating and there's regret and it's remorse and etc. And I'm hearing there's also a very future-based around, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not good enough. I'm an imposter. It's like we have everything, including the current moment, and everything back there and everything out here can be swirls. Is that true?
It's completely true. So, and I've done it many times myself while running my company and while leading people and managing a board and managing all the related elements to building a business. And I've been in meetings where I went, I should have said this, or I meant to say that, or, oh my goodness, why did I say that? And it happens to everyone. No one is immune from it. The point is, what do we do when that happens? How do we stop the swirl? How do we disconnect from the woulda, coulda, shouldas into the, that just happened, okay, and we cut it off so we save all that noise and therefore time that just erodes our 25th hour?
When I think about this, I'm thinking about drama, but not just like egregious behaviors on the team and gossiping, and that's drama for sure, and that has a big impact. But what I'm hearing is that there's an internal drama that happens, and this is like the most rudimentary equation, but it's like here's Neal. And you could say, well, Neal, his value to the organization, value equals his talent, experience, his education, his passion, his character, all that stuff. And you go, no, it's actually not that. It's all that stuff divided by drama, either internal or right. So it's, are you saying, and I'm just checking, that it's drama and swirl doesn't just subtract, it actually fractionalizes. So a person can be like 1/5 of who they truly should be if swirl is really happening, catastrophizing and self-limiting. Is it a fractionalizing, or is it just no? It subtracts from your life.
So it's both. And in some
Yep.
cases that are extreme, it's actually not just fractionalizing, it fractures. And so
Okay.
there are leaders, and this is where I'm always very guarded about the who. And so I wish I could say, just because
Mm-hmm.
the emphasis around it, but I work with a very large brand CEO. She
Okay.
is very visible, and she is fractionalized, as you just mentioned, by, well, first of all, she's very limited on time. She's extremely, extremely
Okay.
busy. And I, in the spirit of what you're saying, work closely with her to show how the swirl and the unnecessary spin that adds just a heaviness and extra noise is sucking up unnecessary time that she does not have, that also becomes a dilutive element, therefore fractionalizing her other work
Yeah.
and her other responsibilities. And so we take this swirl, this spin, this constant replay, and
Yeah.
we take away from things that we can control. Right? What happened happened. In most every case, the consequences are close to zero, but the
Right.
self doubt, the self reflection, and then the pain we cause ourselves, the dilutive elements we cause ourselves, is measured in massive, massive dilution of both time and energy.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Hey, how comfortable are you at just workshopping something for a second? My
Let's do it.
sense is, yeah, okay. And this is not just so I can get some free coaching, but I just think it could be helpful for our audience. And I'm going to be a bit vulnerable here, if that's okay with you.
So, Brady, I teach people that professional vulnerability
Yeah,
is one of the most important attributes of a leader. Those that play that tough role and chest thumping all the time are less impactful leaders than those that use professional vulnerability, the humanity, to lead. So let's go for it. Let's deal with what's on your mind.
people are going to see that 25th hour tools showcased here, and at
As
at
long as
my
you don't mind getting comfortable being uncomfortable,
no, 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 no.
okay.
Our audience is they're not squishy about realism. I'll tell you that. So here's the deal. I just finished a bit of a road tour. So think the western part of Canada, Whistler. I had like 400 CAOs, so chief administrative officers, so big municipalities, some of our largest cities, and they're dealing with incivility. So I'm speaking about how to neutralize and how to detect the invisible forces that cause incivility. And I'm going there to serve, make no mistake about that. But I also hope that there's going to be some hot leads for my team coming out of this. Then I go to Montreal and I've got a bunch of people from the Conference Board of Canada, like high level leaders. And again, I'm just there to light them up and give them a fantastic experience. But I also hope that some of these organizations will reach out to us. So in the aftermath, I'm kind of watching are the leads coming in, other than a few spotty things, not a ton's coming back. So here's Brady in his swirl, which is, what didn't I do right? Like, how could I have missed this so badly? Why are people not reaching out? Did I not make did they not see the efficacy or the value of what I was bringing? So I don't think that's really what was going on, but I'm telling you, I was camping on that, and I still to this moment. So this was just kind of like the last couple of weeks. So anyway, that's enough to give you the context for the situation.
Love it. Okay, so one of the most important tools that I teach is to ask clarifying
Yeah,
questions. So I'm going to do that now.
got it.
And
Okay.
I believe your intent of conducting both those programs outside of Whistler and in Montreal were lead gen, business development, while also really wanting to serve the community and to help them with their development and what you do amazingly. Do I have that correct?
That's you do accept that the priority is number two first and number one second. So the
So
lead, lead generation. It is important to me, but my first job when I'm there is I want to deliver profound value that people, yeah. So that's my first, but make no mistake, the second is important as well. Yep.
So, in your assessment, unrelated to the phone ringing or the leads generated, did you make profound impact?
Definitely. Like overwhelmingly in both sessions.
Okay, so right now, talk to yourself in front of me. I'll be your alter ego,
Yeah.
and give yourself what I've referred to as a cookie. Okay, so a cookie is, I'll tell you very quick aside, a
Yeah. Yeah.
cookie is that affirmation that is the truth, that leaders rarely get the truth, leaders rarely get affirmation. And
True.
so in my practice, I teach people that they have to give it to themselves. So it would be something like this: Brady, you crushed it in Montreal. Slightly better in Montreal than the other session, just because you were a little bit more on point. But in both cases, you crushed it, you hit it, mission accomplished, well done. So something like that. I just modeled it for you. But whatever is your truth
Yeah.
of how you performed, go ahead and give yourself a cookie right now.
Okay. So these great leaders in Whistler found something of immense value that they could put into practice immediately. And Brady, they came up and told you that. And then the organizer of the conference gave you that feedback in numerical markers. So yeah, you nailed it. You acquitted yourself nobly of what you had to do.
Okay, so that's version A, what you just did. Let me give you
Yeah.
version B.
Okay.
Version B is I added tremendous value to the community in both Whistler and Montreal. I crushed it. I delivered on point, and I'm really proud of myself. What's the difference between version A and version B?
Yeah, there's a visceral emotion and level of impact to the way you're describing version B that mine was a bit too like rational and it didn't get to the heart of what I really felt about it.
So, what else? You're missing one key piece that that I'd love to point out to you. Just give it one more thought.
It just, yeah, I just think the level of pride and the level of gratification and fulfillment and achievement was like it's a 9 on what you said. Mine was a 6 or 7. So, but I'm probably missing something else.
You are. So in version A, you made it about them. It was they came up to you and what they shared with you, and about how the meeting organizers provided you feedback. And so,
Yes.
therefore, the affirmation that you were ingesting was about the they. In
Yes.
version B, it has nothing to do with anyone but you. So it's about you manage you. And so, therefore,
Right.
you are speaking to yourself and you are providing yourself feedback. And there's a really important distinction here, which is as leaders, and in our case, contributors, really motivated, by wanting to serve and help and support and grow,
Yeah.
we hear compliments all the time, but do we absorb them? And what I find
Right.
in my practice is no, we don't. We hear it, but we don't absorb it. And your case in point, Brady, because you got incredible feedback as you
Yep.
modeled in version A. And it
Yep.
was, I believe, that plus more. You were probably even a little humble, and yet
Yep.
you're still swirling. And so, therefore, the way to address that is by you managing you using a version A like method to manage yourself, which makes it 100% about you. Now, one note of caution: you are not having this conversation in front of other people. This is very much
Right.
just happening in a private moment. You are preferably staring in a mirror. This is the way I teach it because it's super uncomfortable to talk to yourself in a mirror. And where we start to get comfortable and where it really starts to absorb is when we repeat this and we share our truths with ourselves, and that becomes very sticky to us as leaders.
I can imagine that. Yes. I can imagine that.
So let's talk about number two, albeit less important.
Okay.
What did you ask of the room?
Great question. I invited them to our juice community
Yep.
and told them that they could find a lot of helpful resources there, and that we were going to have a CAO roundtable where they, without anybody from the outside prying in, they could speak about the things that mattered most to them. And so I think those were the main two asks. There were some less explicit, more implied things, i.e., hey, this experience we're going through right now, I wish you could see what happens when you take your team through this. So not saying take your team through this, but this is powerful if you were to want to take your team through it. So it was kind of like just a gesture.
Amazing. Do I have permission to speak freely?
I want you to speak absolutely freely. I
I'm
would love
always
that.
mindful of that, having nothing to do with the publishing of this podcast, having to do with just sensitivity to you. So
Yeah. No, thank you.
if you're leading a company, which you are, and
Yep.
you are in front of, let's say, a group of employees, and you are in a meeting where your goal is to really sell your services.
Yep.
And in that meeting, you observe, let's call it version A again, the individual in charge, this case it would be you, your company, that was very lovely about the delivery of a message. Hey, I want to speak about things that matter the most. I want to invite you into my community. That is heartfelt and I believe extremely authentic to you, Brady, right? Having
Yep.
followed you and understand your material. And I believe that is like rooted in your authenticity.
Yep.
However,
That's true.
so version B would look something like this. Hey, everyone. I would like for you to support us by not only subscribing to our community, but also by hiring our team to come in and to spread this magic to your companies through workshops and professional development opportunities. The way to do that is by contacting me or my team directly. And here on the screen is our phone number. The type of services that we do and what I get really excited about in terms of presentation is the one-to-many work or the workshopping work similar to what we're doing here today. And we will design a bespoke program just for you. Can't wait to hear from you.
Yeah.
What's the difference between version A, which is what you did, and version B, which is what I just modeled?
Yeah, the recipient knows exactly how to respond and exactly what the game is. There's no question about how explicit my request has been.
And for me, if you put this in a context, perhaps a more broader context, this is where leaders make huge mistakes, both internally and externally. When
Yeah.
you are a leader in any capacity, so this is not just a senior leader, using I expect language and making it very clear what you're asking is what I speak a lot about in terms of being definitive. And in our world, for whatever reason that I'm not sure why, in other words, I can't explain the science behind it, we have real inhibitors to be definitive. And if you pay attention to how people speak, they do it in what I refer to the kind of sort of maybes. So I
Yeah.
kind of sort of would like for you to maybe come and listen to our podcast. And then maybe if you like it, then you would hire us for some work. Now, you didn't say it exactly like that. Of course, I just exaggerated wildly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the point is that in version A, it was delivered in a very lovely and sweet way. But as a leader, I teach people to be definitive. And the distinction is really clear when people know what they want. So now, in your case, for your 25th hour, you're sitting here swirling to where the conversation was. What did
Yeah.
I do wrong? How could I have done it better? Where did I make
Yep.
mistakes? And instead,
Yep.
it would look like this. Huh, okay, I wasn't definitive. Okay, that happened. There's going to be many more opportunities. And so next time, I will be definitive. And my way of being definitive is going to be very much in line with Neal's version B, what he modeled, and I'm going to do that. And maybe you don't get it right the next time. Maybe it requires 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 more experiences. But in each case, by lightening it up and just being like, yeah, that happened. Nothing bad actually happened. Like I didn't get any real business out of it, but nothing bad happened. And wow, what a great opportunity to just make an adjustment and tweak a little bit and move on. And we lighten it up, and that saves all kinds of time because the swirl just then goes away.
Yeah. What I'm seeing here, and I want to ask you about this, the connection between the ability to not deflect the recognition, but to receive it in such a way that it really does get absorbed and metabolized, and then to be able to look in the mirror and I crushed that. That is what predicates your ability to actually be definitive and to ask. Is that true? Is there the linkage between those two?
Completely. If you don't mind, I'd love to just share an experience with you that I had
Yeah,
as a
please.
young manager.
Yeah.
I was 25 years old. I was on a good fast track in my career at this large organization called Interrep. And I'm made a manager of a team of people, most of whom were 10 plus years older than me, significantly more experienced than me. And I had one of my employees come up to me after a meeting and say, Neal, you are powerful. Now, I said thank you. And I spent 3 months.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that number is exaggerated, but it's not. I literally spent 3 months swirling Brady. I did everything I possibly could to not be powerful. That
Oh
meant
my
that
goodness.
I was like, hey, one of the team, let's have drinks. I had no idea. One, I was young. And two, I forgot some really important, well, I shouldn't say I forgot. I didn't know, I wasn't taught some very
Yeah.
important principles. So after
Right.
about 3 months, it was eating me up so much. I had lost so much time. I had modified my behavior. I was so unauthentic to what I was believing. I went up to her and I was like, hey, could you please explain to me what you meant by powerful? And she
Right.
went, sure, no problem. She said, you sit tall in your chair, you speak clearly and do it in a very inviting way. And you are really patient about helping to support the team. So, no exaggeration, I swirled and spun out for 3 months, like
Oh,
twisting and turning and tossing and turning at night. And had I asked one question just much,
yes.
much sooner than 3 months, I would have realized that she was paying me a really unbelievably positive compliment. But
Yes.
here's the interesting thing, I heard her, but I didn't believe her
Right.
because what I refer to as my devil, okay? I think we have two governors, our
Mm-hmm.
devil and our
Yep.
angel. And my devil had convinced me that I was young and inexperienced and I had no idea what we're doing, that I'm doing. And so, therefore, my devil is governing me to hear this feedback after 3 months. And I did not actually absorb it. So, it took me quite a bit more time, and now I reflect on it, and I happen to love, this is one of my favorite professional development experiences,
Yeah.
because had I known about the cookies and to actually absorb this and for me to manage myself, I would have saved myself countless. I don't think I can count that high, the amount of hours between 25 and about 40 years old when I actually started to practice what I teach
Yep.
and to actually then absorb it. And that's when so much changed for me, and not just in terms of my 25th hour and my presence and balance and things like that, but also just in terms of how I show up as a leader and being definitive, like we talked about earlier. And there is no coincidence that when I managed myself better,
Yep.
and I made these modifications, that our business soared, our productivity soared, our internal cultures. And now that I teach this in companies frequently and showcase it and really roll it out for many companies around the world, that they improve and it becomes sticky when the leaders learn to manage themselves in line with what we're talking about here.
That That's powerful. And so I'm hearing a couple things for me. The cookies for sure, in a way that's about me, not about the other people. And that's important for me. And the second thing is to be incredibly definitive around my intent, why I'm there. One question for you, Neal, and that is when you were working with cultures around the world for whom self deprecation is a flag of identity, Canada being one of them, but I'm sure that there are a lot of others. Where it's like, oh yeah, you don't give yourself those kind of cookies because you self-deprecation means you are, that real likable person, and if you move away from that, then you're going to something that is, oh man, full of hubris, braggadocio, etc. So, how do you help people that have been seeped and been served up the mother's milk of self-deprecation for their entire life?
So it's such a great question, and I love that you led with the Canadians, because I do have two Canadian clients that I've worked with, and
Oh,
there is
good, good.
something about self-deprecation that is taught in the Canadian schools, or obviously I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but there's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
about it. So we grow up believing that providing ourselves affirmation is conceited, or it is, on the other hand, it's like humility is good. And
Yeah.
there's two key points here. One, by being a definitive leader doesn't make you a jerk. It doesn't
Right.
make you a overly confident or boisterous individual. It makes you a definitive leader. And there's a key distinction there. The second and most important part here is any type of self-deprecation is 100% cold turkey ended the first day I start working with someone. So I
Hmm.
love, some of my favorites are, well, I may not be the smartest person in the room, or, you know, I'm not really an expert on that, or
Right.
that's way above my pay grade. And
Right.
those are my three favorites.
Yep.
And here's what I say to people. One, you're lying to yourself and to the room because you don't believe that. Chances are you are an expert on it. And
Right.
two, if you dilute and minimize yourself, I am going to believe you. And so, therefore, if you say that it's above your pay grade, then I'm going to
Mm.
believe that you are incapable of achieving whatever that pay grade is. And
Right.
so, I've said this to people that work with and for me for years. They go, that very, oh, well, that's above my pay grade. That's really for the C-suite. And then well, interesting. What's your career ambitions? And
Yeah.
I want to be a CFO, or I want to be a COO. What? You better start to believe that you can do it, or you're not going to achieve it.
Yeah.
And these little nuances are not only dilutive of your presentation, but they are also dilutive of time. And every time we say extra words, especially if we don't meet it, that very ambitious person that says, oh, I might not be the smartest person in the room. Well, you don't have to say, I believe I am the smartest person in the room, but why don't you just act smart, say your truth, and then share the perspective with confidence? And sometimes it requires a discussion. Sometimes you'll be right. Other times, perhaps you'll have to modify, or you're wrong, but speak freely and confidently. And I teach that it's critically important to recognize that you're not being a jerk or other colorful words that people call themselves if you
Yeah.
are actually just delivering what you believe to be good information. Now, I'll just clarify one thing.
Yeah.
We don't ever, on one hand, we don't want to be self-deprecating ever. Cold turkey, everyone that ever hears me speak, stop that immediately. On the other hand, there are those people that present with that really heavy hand, and I demand to be right, and I am absolutely right. That's not the right tone either. So to
No.
just speak with confidence and to be definitive doesn't mean that you lack flexibility or the ability to listen and or change your mind.
I feel like the highest poppy syndrome is so huge here. That one high poppy, if you really are big and you show up and you present who you really are to the world, when the scythe comes across, there's only one poppy going down. It's going to be you. And so this has to do, I think, for me anyway, with the fear and the terror of, if I really stand out and if I am brilliant, I will be attacked. There's no question. And so there's a way to kind of armor up and not experience that attack. And that's just by being one of, get your poppy down to the rest of the level of all the other poppies.
Oh, such an important topic. Fear is rampant through organizations everywhere. You can have the best culture and sit with someone who you say, I don't, why didn't you speak up in that meeting? I didn't want to be wrong. And
Yep.
there's the fear of getting fired. There's the fear of being wrong. There's the fear of looking stupid. There's the fear of getting noticed. Every type of fear, and it runs from the youngest of professionals to the most senior of professionals, and it manifests in whichever way it does for you as an individual. What I love to do with people is to teach them to fire their fears one by one, just like you would fire an unproductive employee.
Right.
And so if you have a fear of public speaking, then I teach you how to fire that fear. It doesn't mean you're going to be a world-class public speaker, but we're no longer going to absolutely, as you said, like be a poppy and just shrink when we are asked to speak in a group. And it doesn't mean you're going to speak to a room of 1,000 people, but it also means that you could be comfortable amongst your colleagues or a group of 10. If we have a fear of getting fired, which everyone, even people in some cases who have their own businesses and can't get fired, have a fear of getting fired. Either the client fires them, their board fires them, their boss fires them.
Yes.
And one of my favorite exercises to take people through is what I call what's the worst thing that can happen. So it would look like this. Brady, you just spoke to that room of people. You were dissatisfied with the response that you got. And now you're contemplating being more definitive. And it's a little bit uncomfortable. So version B from the earlier part of our conversation. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's not natural. And so what I would say to you is, so what's the worst thing that can happen? Like absolute catastrophe of you are now definitive and you have another room of people and what happens? So if you don't mind, let's play this out for 1 second. So what's the worst thing that can happen if you go in very definitive?
Okay, so the worst that can happen is that I have a large percentage of the room that goes, friggin' charlatan. Like he's wearing a plaid jacket and is basically using what is ostensibly a learning experience for us. And he is opportunistic and he is preying upon us and just trying to milk us for all the business he can get. And it's like, I'm going to give this guy a 0 out of 5 on my survey. And I'm going to tell the conference organizer to never have him back. And in fact, I will go on social and just assassinate him and Juice. That's kind of the worst.
That is absolute catastrophe. I agree with you. That is well-defined catastrophe. So, Brady, what's the probability that that'll happen? Like on a percentage basis?
It's not a high. I mean, I might have 10% of the room that could have some sort of comments around. He seemed to be salesy.
10% of the room that might say you're salesy, but let's really focus on the catastrophe part. Like, where you said you're praying and that you're going to get a 0 out of 5 and they're just going to assassinate you on social media. What's a percentage probability?
Actually, I could have like 1 or 2 people who would give me like a 0 or a 1 out of 400, honestly. And I think that some of those comments, if they write them down, he was too salesy, then the conference organizer, they could easily go, yeah, we're not having him back. So that would be probably the big disaster right there.
The big disaster. And so that would be 2 out of 400. So let's say less than 1%.
Yeah.
Okay. So less than 1%. That's actually like a half of 1%. But let's keep the math easy just for simplicity. And let's go 99% probability that your catastrophe couldn't and wouldn't materialize, and a 1% probability that it would be just catastrophic. The organizer would say, you're out, not ever to come back. You would get assassinated, right? You've been doing this a long time now. And so 99.1 is pretty much what I would say. So now let me ask you this. I have two investment opportunities for you. I have
Yeah.
one opportunity that has a 99% probability of being wildly successful.
Yeah.
I have another one that has a 1% probability of being successful. How much time will you spend on the 1% probability?
Yeah. Not much.
Probably zero, right? If someone
Yeah.
presented me with a
Yeah.
1% probability opportunity, no
Not even
matter,
thinking about it.
I would literally say, please stop speaking. Not a good use of our time. I pass on that. And on the other hand, the 99% probability, I would invest time and resources and energy to explore that and likely invest in that all day long, as many opportunities as I could get at 99%.
Mhm.
So, why do we spend any time on the 1%?
Yeah. The eventuality that it could happen looms much larger in our brain, in my brain,
Yeah.
than any kind of sane, sober reckoning of what is actually going to happen.
So true. And yet, our devil that sits on the
Yeah.
shoulder
Yeah.
convinces us that that 1% is could happen, would happen, what if it happened? And so we live in our catastrophes and we allow that to govern us, which consumes so much time. It erodes our 25th hour, but it also shapes us as leaders and managers. And so, what I love to share with people, this is one of my favorite tools and exercises to teach, is to just pause, do a quick assessment like, what's the probability that I'm going to convince this room that I'm not smart or capable? It doesn't sound right. And so, therefore, I'm not going to say it. And the catastrophe would be people would think I'm arrogant or conceited. Well, that's not my intent. And I don't live my life that way. And I'm very aware of that. And my
Right.
word choices are typically thoughtful, and I'm very embracing. And my whole purpose is to help people, right? Live in your head, live in your hearts. And so, therefore, yeah, I'm going to dismiss the 1%. And so, therefore, the qualifiers, cutting them out, and being definitive. This is how these concepts and tools link together.
Yes. Yes. It feels like that kind of Velcro Teflon thing, Neil, that, my brain is like going to latch onto and hook onto the loops of the naysayer and give it so much airtime and so much swirl and all of the wonderful things that just Teflon, it just slides off. And so it's kind of like what allowed us to stay alive for the last 100,000 years is not helping me in that situation.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I refer to that as your robot. So
Yeah.
think about when you were early in grade school.
Yeah.
Recess comes and you line up and we eat lunch at the exact same time. And in my case, my brown bag lunch or my lunch pail that I had maybe two or three different varieties of sandwiches, and it was very limited. And then we get into middle school and we're supposedly given some freedom because classes Tuesday, Thursday are different than Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then we get to high school and we get some electives that we get to choose. And then college, all of a sudden, our professors don't care if we show up at all. We have a lot of freedom,
Yeah.
but we're so trained in our discipline. And then
Yeah.
we enter the workforce and we are like robots. And our robots are so pre-programmed into what the right thing to do is and what we believe is humility. And that's where our devil becomes really active governor to don't speak up in meetings and duck and
Yep.
hide. Perhaps that's the way you acted in class and it worked well for you. You were a good student. You got a good job. And we have to break these sequences. And so here's one of my favorite things that I love to do. It's actually super hard.
Okay.
So Brady, what pant leg do you put your pants on first? Are you a left right or right left?
I'm a right left.
You're a right
I
left.
that
Okay.
I didn't know there was another way in the whole planet. I don't if
So effective immediately, I want you to go left right.
Do you want me to take my pants off right now? Is that what you're
No.
saying? Or okay,
No,
okay,
no.
okay,
This would
okay.
be
Just check.
in your next natural occurrence of of putting your pants on.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
and what winds up happening is I haven't met a person yet who doesn't have to stop, pause, and just think for a very quick second. Okay, wait, I'm a right left, I'm going left right.
Yeah.
And this happens all the time when I find myself needing a refresher. That or my other favorite one is, are you a wake up, brush your teeth and shower, or are you a shower, brush your teeth?
Oh, it's always shower, brush your teeth. Again, I didn't know there was another way.
So I'm a wake up, shower, brush my teeth.
Yeah.
So try to wake up and then brush your teeth and shower. And I will tell you in a very embarrassing way that more times than I can count, I have woken up, gone straight into the shower, go, oh my goodness. I turn off the shower, I brush my teeth, and then I go back in the shower. And my wife has looked at me like, Neal, there's not that much to do. Why are you showering immediately after you just showered? And I say to her, I'm breaking the sequence.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
And just one clarifying question:
yeah.
pants on or off in the shower?
um, it can be very confusing. So I try very hard to have my pants off in the shower.
I'm going to try this, and if I fall on the floor and my wife is laughing uproarious at me when I try to flailing around with one leg in, one leg out, then it's all your fault. But I'm going to try that, and I'm going to try brush my teeth before I go in the shower and just see what that sort of disruption that brings.
I love it. If for nothing more than in a
Yeah,
very lighthearted, humorous way, you will see the safety in breaking these sequences that our robot, governed by our devil, teaches
yeah,
us that are the way to go through our professional lives. And when we can just shake
yes,
that up, I had one that was really really funny. I have a client who is extremely routine. His robot is very programmed.
yeah.
And I got him finally, for as simple as this sounds, he likes to take an afternoon walk. It clears his head. It's very therapeutic for him
Yeah.
in his neighborhood. So like after dinner, so call it a evening walk. And I said to him, what's your routine? It's out the door to the left. He climbs up one hill, down another. He knows exactly how many calories he's going to burn on his Apple Watch. He
Yeah.
knows the exact time. So
Yeah.
the effective today for him was out the door to the right.
Oh,
And I
wow.
want you to just wander and explore. He's like, no, Neal, you don't understand. I have limited time. I'm very busy. I have to, get my steps in. I have to do all this. I'm like, I understand. Try it. So what wound up happening is the fourth time he went, he
Yeah.
wound up meeting a neighbor down a different hill that he hadn't walked. He had seen it and driven past it, but he hadn't walked it. He wound up meeting a neighbor. They struck up a conversation. And today, that neighbor is his largest client. And
Oh, my goodness.
it was just by breaking the sequence and doing something as simple as an evening walk, doing it different. So whether it's a pant leg or a walk, or I have another one that went to a coffee shop, had to go to the same coffee shop. They walked in, he was famous there. They had it waiting for him.
Yeah.
And this was before you order on apps. And literally he met his wife by me changing his coffee shop, by me just saying, you have to do something different. So
That
these
is
are great
beautiful.
examples of life altering, incredible things that happen when we can break the sequence and do things differently.
Neal, it feels to me like we ascribe virtue to routine. And maybe the older we get, the more that happens. Routine, tradition, habit, as long as they're not kind of the habits that get us into trouble. But we say this is virtuous somehow to go to the left rather than the right. And so, how do you have people reckon with the virtue of routine?
So the comfort in routine is very much in line with what I was sharing earlier and programmed from kindergarten, perhaps before, right? Eat lunch
Hmm.
at the same time, go to the same classes. And routine is important, and routine is healthy in grade school and middle school and to have healthy habits. So by no means do I suggest that some routine isn't good. Having a weekly cadence of meetings and some reporting structure, very, very important.
Hmm.
However, routines become minimal productivity over time. And so you can have that same meeting, but if you do it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon instead of 9 o'clock in the morning, or if you do it on Tuesday instead of Monday, and just slightly changing it up, just adding a little bit more flavor to it by modifying that that devil and angel governing,
Yeah.
makes huge productivity leaps. And I've seen it 100 times. So there's the examples about the coffee shop or the taking a
Yeah.
walk. But I have a client, I write about this in the book. I have a client who, when they were a small company, I believe it was about 10 or 12 people, they did a stand up meeting every morning. And they literally, as they grew and they were now over 100 people, they did the same stand up meeting. The
Yeah.
problem is they were taking 100 people away from productivity because of the routine as opposed to actually delivering information. So
Right.
what we did is we changed that to a once a week stand up, which then saved 1 hour times 4 days times 100 people. And then we cut it into a 30-minute meeting and only shared really relevant data points and successes and opportunities that what I like to refer to as mistakes made and lessons learned. And
Hmm.
so it became so productive. In another case, when we changed the routine and cadence of meetings, the people started coming in the office earlier and staying later. So without asking, we were getting more productivity out of our workforce. And it was a choice people made as opposed to this like check in at 9 and check out, which is almost like a punch the clock mentality.
Yeah.
Punch out at 5, and people started coming in at 8 or 7:30, and they would leave at 8 o'clock at night. And so productivity soared by just breaking the sequence, by changing routines. And so I
It,
do believe, Brady, in balance. So in other words, yeah, you have to have a once a week meeting, most likely in your company, but you don't have to have it on Mondays at 9 a.m.
yeah. It feels like there was a time in the workforce, 30 years ago where routine was everything. And
Yeah.
nowadays, everything is disruptive, unknown. There's ambiguity everywhere and changes happening around every corner where people are finding an oasis in some form of routine because everything else is static and disrupt, or it's not static, dynamic and disruptive. And so I could see some people going, yeah, don't take that away from me because it's the only thing that stabilizes my life. But I definitely get what you're saying, and that some form of wild possibility of those kairos moments that kind of come
Yeah.
from nowhere can occur when we disrupt the routine. I would say the mindless routine that we ascribe value and benefit, but actually it's agnostic of benefit. It's just the way we have kind of slipped into doing something.
So I think you're right. I see it all the time in my practice. We work really closely with clients. And the way that I like to do it is in really simple, non-threatening ways, like change your coffee shop or change your walking routine.
Yeah.
One of my other favorites is when I have a client, and it's near and dear to me because I'm an ice cream guy. So I have a
Okay.
client and she has a sweet tooth,
Okay.
and she has 2 or 3 flavors of a specific brand of ice cream that she likes to eat. And
Yeah.
it's very ritual. It's comforting. I, again, can't explain why, but it's like, today I'm going to have my vanilla, and tomorrow I'm going to have my chocolate, and then I'm going to have my strawberry. And
Yeah.
it's literally the same brand. And I took her to an ice cream store, and we had a crazy flavor. I'm not going to say the name properly, but it was like a peanut butter caramel crunch toast, something or another. Very creative. And she was like,
Yeah.
Neal, you
Yeah.
don't understand. I don't really love caramel. I like peanut butter. I was like, we're going to try it on a little taster spoon, right? Take a little taster spoon and try it. And she resisted, and we debated, and then she tried it, and she was like, that's not bad. And then we tried another flavor, and I'm not exaggerating. This literally happened. And when we can build new sequences, or we can break the existing sequences in
Yeah.
fun, light-hearted ways, like ice cream stores or walks, and we make them, or your shower routine, then
Yeah.
the consequences are extremely low and
Yeah.
non-threatening, and it really does start to strengthen the muscle around breaking the sequence.
Yeah. Could we just talk about origin story for a second? Because one of the things in your book that was fascinating to me is that life thrusts you into coaching situations super early, and you discovered over time, perhaps, but maybe suddenly, you had some sort of facility for this that not 100 people around you, 99 of them didn't have the same thing. It was almost like a freakish wonderful gift of coaching. Just could you share a little bit about that, because I think it helps give people context for the tools that you are sharing.
Yeah, I believe that everyone has some form of superpower in leadership. That
Mm-hmm.
could be you are running exceptional meetings. That could be that you are an exceptional sales leader. That could mean that you are an exceptional administrator. We all have certain gifts, and developing those gifts and maximizing the productivity around it is what I teach. In
Mm-hmm.
my case, I knew very early on that my intuitive strengths were a superpower. But when I say I knew it, I felt like I was different,
Okay.
and no different like that story I said when someone called me powerful and I swirled around it and worked hard not to be powerful.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of the younger part of my life shying away from what I didn't know at the time was a real gift of being intuitive.
Yes.
It has served me so well. I know if I'm going to hire someone in 5 minutes or less. I know how I can help someone in ways that have creativity to them. And in oftentimes it is metaphorical or delivered in a way that has relevance to the individual. And so therefore the point lands. And this gift is as a superpower is came together where I was always the person growing up that everyone came to for help and support and problem solving. And
Yeah.
they thought that it was just because I was like a mature young adult or actually, I was a mature kid. And I was. Uh, and I'm not sure that that was a gift, by the way, but that's a story for another day.
Right. I can see that.
But that intuitive sense of, someone would come and say, "Hey, I'm having a problem with this friend, and this happened," and my advice or my guidance was typically spot on and delivered in a way that was unique for a 12 or 13-year-old or 14-year-old to deliver.
Yeah.
And even with some family complexity that we had, my grandmother created a lot of conflict in our home and for my parents, and I wound up being a mediator. I was 12 or 13 years old, and I remember the conversation vividly, where we were sitting, how we spoke about it. And this was a difficult woman with a very, very, very tough composure,
I see.
who wound up relaxing in my presence as a 12 or 13-year-old, hearing what I was saying. And there was professionals that couldn't break through. And I'm not saying
Right.
I fixed her, and I certainly wasn't in a position or trained to do so, but I made some sense of that, and I made some sense of it to myself. And that really has stuck with me as my opportunity now to use that gift to help a lot of people save time and energy and swirling, and to find more gratitude in their days and in their companies and in their lives. And that is truly what gives me joy. So I teach something now, that a tool I call gratitude equals joy. For as simple as it sounds, it's not always simple to pull the gratitude out. And I
Mhm.
try desperately not just to teach it, but to live my life in a place of how absolute fortunate I am to get to have conversations like this with you and many others that are from a place of that intuitive chip that I get to apply every day. And not only do I love it and is it fun, but we get to help a lot of people.
Hmm. So 25th hour's been happening in the background, and you're now coming to the world with it. You're going to be the poppy that's standing up
Ah,
in the midst of all the other ones, not afraid to do that, of course. And so people who think about hiring you, what is the value that you can bring to them? And what does that look like? Is it coaching a team? Is it mostly coaching executives? Is it sessions that you do? Tell us a little bit about what it looks like when people hire you.
so the 25th Hour Group is a full operating business now. When I decided to
Yeah.
write the book and was convinced to do so by several clients, and took me out of my comfort zone because that wasn't necessarily my default or where I was headed, I decided now to launch my fourth company as a serial entrepreneur and operator, which is around helping people. And what I have heard, and is really my fuel, it is what has driven us to build this company, is through the tools and exercises developed in the 25th Hour practice. We live in your head and your heart. And as
Mm.
a result of that, we now have 8 coaches currently that work with companies around the world that are one-on-one individual coaching,
Yep.
and we do leadership offsites, retreats, keynotes. So there is both me and others on our team that do the one-to-one work, and then what I refer to as one-to-many, which is those opportunities where we get to speak in front of, similar to Montreal or Vancouver, where you have hundreds of people in a room, and our style is very interactive and not just another person on a stage that is preaching for an hour or two. Some of my favorites is when I facilitate offsites. Sometimes there are 2 and 3 day offsites,
Yeah.
and I get to really make impact from minute one. We do things completely different than a typical offsite. So it runs the gamut from one-on-one coaching, which is monthly session, every other week sessions,
Okay.
and then support as things come up. We like to deal with hot stuff when it's hot, into keynotes and offsites, and then uh, one of the newest legs on our stool is my middle son, who came up through investment banking and then the private equity financial community, has launched our young professional practice. So that's for 25 to 35-year-olds who have a different type of swirl and
Oh, yeah.
career ambitions and all that. So he is now active, extremely active, coaching young professionals. He has started groups that are in our young profession. We call it 2-5 Young Professional Network, which
Yeah.
is the 2-5 YPN. And they are groups that can have shared experiences and opportunities to help each other. They're incredibly powerful, and it launched in beta in Los Angeles and now rolling out throughout the United States, and it's great. So we are this very well rooted in years and years of practice. Not quite a startup anymore,
Yeah.
but also growing and now getting our name and brand into a very visible place, both from the book and from our clients that are speaking openly about us.
Oh, yeah. And is the book launched yet, or is it just about to launch?
So the book is done. I just finished recording the audio version, which, as a quick aside, was much harder than I expected it to
Oh,
be.
it's brutal. It's
Brutal.
brutal.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It
Yes.
was fun, but it was very hard. And the book officially launches on August 11th. And all the pre-sales are happening now through Barnes
Yeah.
and Noble and
Yeah.
Amazon and Givington's and other retailers. And we are extremely grateful for the response we've had in pre-sales. It's a little bit humbling, and talk about getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. I'm having to use my
Yeah.
own tools on myself.
Yeah, I bet you are.
But I am loving the early reader responses, which came from the early press, were uh, were incredible. Again, humbling, and the feedback I got from other authors and business professionals, young professional students, were overwhelming, and so I am excited about this launch, and I must admit, I'm watching the pre-sales pretty carefully.
Yeah.
My devil has some chirping going on there, and so I'm excited to see the ticker tick.
Did you crush it?
We're crushing it. I'm so proud of our team. I, I'm a portion of this, right? And it's my practice and it's my toolbox. But watching our team put this into play and watching them coach others in the practice and
Yeah.
hearing the feedback from clients about how they are crushing it, and just the attention that we are getting from the individuals that have been really successful leaders and executives and teachers and all walks of life that now want to get 25th hour certified and become part of our network and to coach. It's been I share with my wife, it's almost like out of body. This is work I've been
Yeah.
doing again since I'm very, very young, right? That
Yeah.
intuitive chip that is now taking a whole new shape. And there's one other element of it. I prided myself on the confidential nature of it. So one of my
Yeah.
favorite quick stories is I was at an offsite of senior leaders. We were in this wonderful location, beautiful, and at the cocktail hour before one of the dinners, and there is 5 of us standing around, and I happen to, oh, do you know so and so? Just a polite, simple
Yeah.
introductions, and 3 of them one says to the other, "Oh, I work with Neal, and you really ought to work with him. He can help you with such and such." And the guy goes, "I I already work with Neal. I'm his client." And then the woman standing there says, "Wait a second, I work with him too." And so 3 of the 5 of us, well, me being one, so 3 of the 4 of them were
Yeah.
my clients. 2 of them knew each other really well, socially as well
Yeah.
as professionally,
But
and
didn't know.
didn't know. And
Yeah.
so to me, that was a badge of honor that I kept the confidentiality. So now our work is to roll this out, still with confidentiality in the one-to-one work, but to roll
Yeah.
this out in a much broader basis, and to invite people to read the book, and to invite us into their companies to help their young professionals and senior professionals and everything in between, and to break the sequences, and to really not only increase productivity, but I love to say to live your 25th hour. So
Right.
it's life changing.
I'm just taking that in. So please bear with me while I pause. But I'm tasting the sense of incredible fulfillment and gratification of a person who is right in their sweet spot and being able to deliver value to the world, not just by yourself, but with a team of people that you love and with your son. Like,
It's I, I have built some great companies. I have been so proud. My company Triton, that is now owned by a very large company, where our
mhm.
team is largely still intact. I stopped
Wow.
running it in 2021. 5 years
Okay.
later, the team inside a big organization is still intact.
Amazing.
And I couldn't be more proud of them and other companies that I've built. I contributed to a real estate firm where the culture, I thought, was the most fun I had ever had until launching the 25th Hour Group. And I am pinching myself and just grateful every day to be able to meet great people and to contribute and to help and to do it in a way that has now been proven time and time again, where we take the complicated and just lighten it up. And when people call me or text me, and I love these when they do, and just say, "You're not going to believe it," I shook things up, and I was able to exercise for an hour today, or I attended my kids' sporting event, or I went for a walk by myself and just cleared my head. I got my 25th hour.
Right.
That is like a fuel system that is energizing me like I haven't ever experienced in my career.
I know that feeling. I
I
have to
believe you do.
say, I know that feeling, and it is, again, pinching yourself. What percentage of the world has the incredible privilege of being in that position? It is, it's stunning. Neal, this has been a delight. Thank you for the free coaching.
You got it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm walking
So
away with a
Brady,
lot of
before we
yeah,
end, here's your homework. Okay. So
yeah,
in
yeah,
my coaching, I give homework. And so here's
yeah,
your homework. In your next session
yeah.
where you are speaking and you are definitive, would you please shoot me an email or a text or a call and just let me know how it went? Because I'd love to just make sure that you're aware that that 99% can be your governor. So could you commit to shooting me a text, email, phone call, some sort of communication after you've done it?
I will absolutely do that.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, so how do people get a hold of you? It's the best way?
Best way is through our website, which is being redesigned. So the current
Okay.
website is 25hourgroup.com
Mm-hmm.
or info@25hourgroup.com. So
Got
email
it.
and our website. And what a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for having me on your awesome show.
It was such an honor. Yeah. And I just can't wait to see what this does in the world, Neal.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.